Hi, Coach Grimes here from Advantage Youth Tennis. We're going to look at some points from the match between Elisa and Aidan and add a little commentary. First thing we're going to look at is Elisa's serve. She's been working very hard on it, but is still struggling with a few things. What I want you to notice from this is her trophy pose and the position of her racket relative to the ball. So looking at it again in slow motion, you're going to see that she has a pretty extreme arch to her back. The reason this hurts your serve is because it creates tension, and as I say, tension is the enemy of good tennis. When you are tense, your limbs cannot move freely, and it is difficult to rotate your shoulders into your serve. Let's look at a solid trophy pose from the greatest of all time, Roger Federer. When we look at Federer and Milos Raonic next to the actual tennis trophy, we'll notice that their backs are straight and their elbows are bent. This is a very relaxed position. Going back to Lisa, you see that her arm is straight in addition to having the arch in her back. Continuing with the serve, we also notice that she opens her racket face just before making contact. Similar to using a semi-western grip, this lowers your serve percentage as your racket has to be in an almost perfect angle in order to get it in the box. When we serve, the racket actually goes to the right of the ball. Then the hand turns over in what we call pronation to make contact with the ball and continues to rotate through it. Now these guys are super flexible. Does my shoulder rotate like that when I serve? No, it doesn't. But the point we should take away is that the strings do not point towards the ball, as many think it does. The edge of the racket goes to the side of the ball, and the player pronates to make contact with it. I love the fact that Elisa immediately moves her feet after contacting her serve. This ensures that you are ready to get to whatever ball comes back. I would like to see her bounce with her legs a little further than shoulder width apart. That is the most balanced position you can be in. Lisa does a good job of getting to this wide ball. We do want to recover with the shuffle step because it prevents you from being wrong-footed. If this were a more aggressive shot from Aidan, Lisa would not have had it play on the second ball. I also want you to notice that these players are moving their opponent. They're not hitting easy shots down the middle of the court. Okay, now let's look at Aidan's serve. What I want to drill down on is the position of her tossing arm and her hitting arm just before she strikes the ball. When I first started coaching, we used to teach little kids down together, up together. In other words, both arms moved down and up at the same time because this was easier for them to contact the ball. We later realized that we were hurting their development because it caused them to stop with their arm in a very awkward position to generate momentum. As a result, the USTA stopped recommending the down together, up together technique. As you can see, both her arms are up and fairly straight. She has very little time to bend her elbow and throw the racket forward in order to make contact with the ball. This forces her to abbreviate the motion and robs the serve of its momentum. As we saw earlier in the trophy pose, with the elbow bent, it is much easier for the racket to move right to left before driving up and towards the ball. you will notice that her strings are also pointed towards the ball. Good footwork here and good follow-through on the backhand. Again, the B-level players are moving their opponents around, trying to gain an advantage and construct the point. Aidan finally got the ball she wanted, and as you can see, she was going for the angle winner, but just missed it into the net. It is less important that she ultimately lost the point, and more important that she is learning to compete at a higher level. Generally, our B-level players did a very good job of moving their opponents out of position and looking for opportunities to attack the short ball. What we can all learn from them is that you can't get so caught up in winning that you forget to learn anything. The best lesson I've ever had was from a guy who I considered to be an old man at the time. He was 52, who had just beaten me 0-0. I had angrily gathered my things, admonishing myself for losing to a guy who was so old. He grabbed my arm and told me to sit down. Those of you who were taught to respect your elders will understand why I obeyed. He said to me, "This is what you do well. This is what you don't do well." Then he grabbed my arm again and got very close. He said, "And most important, this is how I exploited your weaknesses." That was 25 years ago, and I have never had a better tennis lessons than I did in the 10 minutes that I sat with this guy who had beaten me. The moral of the story is to take every opportunity you can to learn and improve, both in tennis and in life. We'll see you next time on AYT.